Hey guys, it's Troy, and I wanted to share with you another fountain pen that's in my collection. And I added this one fairly recently, and I pretty much already had one, but I saw a pretty good deal on this that I really didn't want to pass up. And as you can tell, it's Cross by the AT Cross Company. AT Cross is an American fountain pen manufacturer, and that company has been around for a long time. I mean, I'm talking 1846 they've been around. That's heap big amount of time, guys. So, they've been known for quality, and I've enjoyed most Cross products that I've had. The downside to Cross right now, they are owned by a holding company, and they are pretty much, I don't know if they're really run by pen guys or innovators or not, but most of their products are made in China, and they do have lower end and they've got upper end products. And I've got some of their nicer ones here at the house that I really enjoy. And I've got some mid-range ones, and this is one of their more mid-range priced pens. This is the 4506. Interestingly enough, I also have a pistol that's from Smith & Wesson, 4506, but I've got the 4506 Cross pen. Cross now owns Schaefer, so the venerable name manufacturer, American-made, great history Schaefer in 2016 was purchased by the AT Cross Company. Cross pens are the official pens by tradition being used for U.S. presidents to sign bills into law, that kind of thing. So they've got a long-standing American history, as do some other brands. But wanted to share with this one with you. Now, I do have a whole lot more history on the AT Cross Company and some of their products that I talk about in another video. So if you would, just look up here for some information to be able to go see one of those videos. I won't repeat it all here. But I picked this up. It was new old stock, never having been used. This had not seen ink. Medium nib, you can tell that by looking at the box. Nothing special on the outside that tells you any more information until you open it up. And this actually has the original, still AT Cross Company, out of Providence, Rhode Island. They've been out of Rhode Island their entire existence, and they still are today in a much smaller facility because, like I said, all their manufacturing is now done out of China. They moved from like 155,000 square foot place down to, that was like back in their heyday in the 60s, to a much smaller, like, 50,000, 30,000 square foot facility. So that tells you the big difference in their manufacturing, where they'll do personalization and they'll do some finishing work. But this, however, is not one of their more modern creations. This, the 4506, as you can look right at it, says 10 karat gold filled, which is the outside, and you look at it and you pull that right out and it tells you right there it's the 4506 fountain pen. So I'll set that aside, and of course you've got the fountain pen little thing here that came with all this. This is how it came. So you pull it up, and it did come with some Cross cartridges. Now the interesting thing, they look like little World War I or World War II hand grenades. It came with a little booklet that came, I'm assuming, with most standard Crosses since 1846, right there on the box. And it came with a converter. Just for grins, I didn't put that converter into it. I had other Cross converters that I had recently purchased from an office supply company going out of business, and wanted to see if one of those would work, and surprisingly one did not, and others I had here in my collection did work. So you pull it out. Cross, I'd used Cross pens for a long time. I mean, back in the 80s I had to wear Cross pens as part of a uniform that I had to sport as part of my career at the time, and they were silver, but they were ballpoints, so you had a pen and pencil set. for the uniform for people in my position. And if you were like a lieutenant or a captain, major, that kind of thing, or chief, you would have the gold tone, signifying that you were a ranking officer. Well, I had a nice little silver one. Matter of fact, I'd shown you this one here. This is the 3506. The 3506 was in silver, very similar though to the gold, with the exception of the fact that this here happens to be, the 10 karat gold filled on the outside of the pen. So you're going to find that they look very similar though on the inside. There you go. So, this is like I said, my 3506. I already did a video on this. And the 4506, just gold tone of the same thing. Pretty cool, huh? Alright, so, like I said, probably produced between 1974 and 1987. Nowadays, they just call it the Classic Century. So you can find these actually on the AT Cross website for sale currently, and for about $95, but you're not going to find it the gold filled like this. You're going to find very diverse finishes. So you'll find some kind of a satiny finish, you'll find a matte finish, you'll find the silver tone like that 3506, and you may even find some gold tone, but you're going to find them starting around $95, $88, somewhere in there. I have seen these, or at least retail prices listed on these from back in the day, in the 70s and 80s. From my research, anywhere between $38 and $88, depending upon the amount of gold content. For instance, the 1506 was a 14 karat gold filled, whereas this was a 10 karat gold filled model, and that 1506 pricing was about $100 in its day. So just to give you an idea. So when you look at it, you've got the very classic cross branding on it that you're going to find right there on the clip. And this is, you can just look at this and tell it's a cross pen. This is very much the style that they had, that they actually became famous for, and this is why they were used in uniforms, and this is why they were often used as gifts and branded to be able to give as employee gifts. I have some cross pens that I've gotten from my employers in the past, and I show you some of that in my other video that I had done. So you've got some of the etching here, the engraving on the pen about it, and I'll show some better close-up pictures of that, just like I will of that nib. But then you've got the nice striping down here, very, very common. This is exactly what I've been used to seeing for decades from Cross, and even today. So it is a slip cap, and it is a cartridge converter pen. I showed you that I had a box of converters or cartridges that I did not pull out, and that's a converter that I had. So it's all metal, whereas this is plastic right here on the section. It's a plasticky feel, and then you've got almost a Lamy style nib, if you can call it that, but just because of the style of it. Nowadays, though, they've got more of a traditional, flared out traditional style nib, from what I can tell. All right. So, it's a little more slender than I personally like in a fountain pen. It's meant to be slid into a pocket, or usually like a breast pocket kind of application, or into a purse for the ladies. But this is the kind of thing a businessman would take in his portfolio, or that you would slide into your dress suit pocket kind of thing. It caps very nicely. It doesn't heavily backweight that pen, but it does somewhat. And you've got a very long section here, and it is slick here. You don't really have any grooving here at all in order to give you a good solid grip to it, but that doesn't bother me. but it is a little more slender than I personally like, although I do like the quality that I get out of a good cross pen. Alright, now I just told you that I really like a good quality cross pen, and so I drug these out to show you a little bit real quickly. This is one that actually is a model still in production. This is my Star Wars C-3PO Townsend model, and the Townsend to me is an excellent model pen if you can find them, and I know that you can because, like I said, they're still in production, and quite honestly there's one out there that it's got a college logo up here on the pen, and I'm really tempted to buy it even though I've already got one, just because the price was fantastic. And so I also mentioned some of the lower end ones. This is the Calais. It's okay. It's a fairly new pen. Got it not too long ago. Yeah, it's okay. Nothing to write home about. This was the first cross fountain pen that I bought. It was the Bailey. Nothing fantastic. Then you got the Aventura, and this is something that you could find usually at an office supply store. Very disappointed in its performance. And then you got the Solo, the Cross Solo. Okay. So the lower end cross pens, to be honest with you, if you're gonna buy one, I recommend you step up in quality. That's just my personal opinion, is to step up to at least the Cross Century. And 4506 or the 3506. I'd mentioned that the Cross made a lot of ballpoint pens. I've had, these actually, when I mentioned my uniform pens, these literally were worn in my uniform pocket. And I bought these in 1988, and I still have them today. Ballpoint and pencil set quality. These will last a lifetime if you let them, and can be passed on. And like I said, corporations like to have their little logos put on. An employer of mine that's no longer that company, but that was pretty much the same kind of model. If you look here, you can see you got the pencil, the fountain pen version, and you've got the ballpoint version of the classic Century right there. Alright, now I mentioned too about a Star Wars model, just to throw out there. I told you that A.T. Cross had bought the venerable Schaefer company. Well, one of the reasons you can tell that they're owned by the same company is when they had marketing rights for Cross, and they had some really nice looking Townsend Cross pens. I mean, Chewbacca, Boba Fett, and some others. I just particularly like the C-3PO version. Well, Schaefer came out with these, and this is their low end, $20 a piece. The Schaefer Pop, so Yoda, BB-8, R2-D2, Darth Vader. So they're owned by the same company, which is why you have Star Wars branding on these. So just thought I'd share those with you. Alrighty, this particular 4506, I decided to fill it with an old ink, because this is a pen between 74 and 87. Well, I got an antique ink here, Schaefer Script. I actually bought this in a charity auction, so I've been wanting to try this out in a pen, and I didn't have the pen that I really wanted to put it in until I got this one. So let's go ahead, and I can show you how nice and smooth this writes. This is just an ordinary notepad that actually has been fairly fountain pen friendly for me. So let me show you the Cross. This is the 4506 with a gold nib, and this is the 10 karat gold filled outer covering, for lack of a way of putting it. So this is a medium nib. It's very nice and smooth. which is what I expected. My 3506 is also fairly smooth, and I can tell you right now too, that Townsend, incredibly smooth, buttery smooth, one of the most buttery smooth nibs that I've got. All right, so this particular pen, like I said, was filled with Schaefer's Script washable blue. It's a very light ink when it dries. It's really dark when you first write with it, and then it really turns almost into a light denim color. But this pen just literally glides across the surface. Glides. So, I knew I was going to enjoy this. The guy I bought it from said that his dad had it in his desk and his father had passed away. And this pen literally had never seen ink. It was obvious that nothing had been touched on it until I filled it with Schaefer's. Schaefer's, now owned by the AT Cross Company. See what I did there? So if you're looking for a decent pen, look for an AT Cross. Every time I've used a Cross pen, it has been reliable. Their fountain pen's incredibly reliable. And quite honestly, I don't own any of the newer Cross Century models. I own the older ones, the 3506 and the 4506, probably between the 70s and the 80s. And I love the performance that I get out of these. Like I said, a little smaller than I like in my hand, but just their performance to me has been spectacular and welcome. So I do highly recommend at least investigating. If you're going to get a Cross, I showed you some of the cheaper Crosses that are in my collection. I don't personally recommend them. I'm just been not a fan of any of them, the lower end Crosses that I've had. So I would step up. Personally, I would spend the extra money. Go up to the Cross Century or the Century 2. Get yourself a good quality Cross pen. Spend the extra money. Get better. And it's worth it.